Earlier this morning, Nintendo had their shareholders meeting where they gave an update on everything Nintendo and Nintendo Switch, and even talked a little Nintendo Switch 2, sort of. But the comments have a lot of people talking about what we could see from Nintendo for their next generation system, as far as when we can see it and what we can expect from the big N. So what's up, Waluigi? Trent from Trentendo here. Today we are going to talk about what Nintendo had to say during their shareholders meeting, and what does this mean for Nintendo's next generation system. So before we hop into all of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video so you guys are kept up to date with everything going on here at Trentendo. Let's see if we can hit 20 likes on this. It really does help. I appreciate it. Without further ado, let's hop right in. As I mentioned, Nintendo had their meeting this morning, and over on Nintendo Life, they had this article going on. It says, Switch is Nintendo's main business right now, but all eyes are on the horizon. So like I said, Nintendo talked a little bit more about, what is in their future potentially for the next generation system, as well as giving an update on some stuff from this last year as they end 2023. So let's just go ahead and jump on into this. So it says, following today's release of Nintendo's quarterly financial results covering the 9 months from April to December 2023, Shuntaro Furukawa's comment that the current Switch will remain Nintendo's main business as the company heads into 2024 is a practiced little piece of evasion from the company's president. It's something that shouldn't be taken away or taken as a signal that we won't, or that we will be waiting until 2025 before hearing the official news of a Switch successor. So this is kind of, that little, like I said, it's a piece of evasion. This is going to be the main business for Nintendo this year. It said heading into 2024. It doesn't say for the whole entire year. It says heading into 2024. So I kind of want to break this down a little bit too, because it makes sense. Even if Nintendo does reveal a Switch 2, let's say it gets revealed in March, as we all kind of are anticipating. If you're heading into 2024, that's January, February, March, the first quarter of the year, you can say that is the main business of 2024, which it is. There's nothing for Switch 2 out. People aren't buying Switch 2. They're not buying software for Switch 2. It is just Nintendo Switch use business as usual, except for not really, because it's just a lot of ports and remasters. But you get this, you get the drift, right? So this is what Nintendo Life is kind of basically saying here as well, that, Nintendo is saying this is going to be the main business for now, but that doesn't mean that that's not the direction that they're heading for the rest of the year with as far as Switch 2. So it says, with the Kyoto firm having reported better than expected profits across the board following a happy holiday season, Switch's seventh, remember the exec who refused to be drawn on a future hardware plan, simply said, the Switch on store shelves right now will be the main financial focus for the time being. So same thing, it's what is on the shelf right now. That's what Nintendo is going to be focusing on until something is actually out there. So I wouldn't take this as Switch to 2025 at all. This is just for the time being right now as we kind of wait for what is coming. So let's keep going with this. So Switch should be obvious with 139.36 million units sold as of December 31st. That's just wild. Hardware sales might be declining, but for a console in the later stages of its life cycle, the Switch is in a rude health with more users playing than ever before, and Nintendo still selling a sackload of software. For instance, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe just sped past 60 million units. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet over to Gold and Silver to become the third best-selling Pokemon games ever. And more recent releases, Tears of the Kingdom and Super Mario Bros. Wonder, have surpassed 20 million and 10 million sales respectively. So that's pretty hefty for those as well. So like I said, it makes sense. The Switch is in great health. There's nothing to really worry about. Nintendo side of things is, business as usual for the time being, but that doesn't mean, like I said, this doesn't mean the Switch 2 is not coming. So this is where we get into the good stuff. So where does this leave Switch 2 and the deluge of hardware rumors that have been waiting through for months? Well, it's still pretty much exactly where it was. Furukawa's statement is certainly accurate, and on paper it's likely to remain so for the entire year. Even if the successor is announced and launched in 2024, manufacturing enough units to satisfy demand is always challenging, just as Sony and Microsoft. So even if hypothetically a new console launched in October or November, Nintendo would struggle to produce sufficient quantities to outpace the OG Switches, which makes sense. I personally think it probably, in my opinion, who knows, the Nintendo Life probably has better sources than I do. I would imagine it launches before then. I would think September, but in that time frame, that fall, September, October, November time frame, sure, that seems fair. Even if it does launch then, the main focus for the most of the year is going to be Switch 2. That only gives you the last quarter of the year for Switch 2. Everything else up until that point is going to be your main focus is going to be Nintendo Switch as it currently sits. Based on the LCD screensaver, our screen production estimates supposedly linked to an unannounced upcoming console suggest that Nintendo aims to manufacture over 10 million units by the end of March 2025. If we assume a slimmer profit margin on brand new hardware, combined with the fact that we're not talking sell-through rates here, the number of consoles that have gone through the supply chain and in the hands of paying consumers, just Nintendo's rumored production targets, Furukawa's statement seems to be more diluted. Yes, obviously the system that is on shelves with an enormous library of critically acclaimed hits is the main business right now. Switch 2 could very well launch this year, and the current console would almost certainly remain the better overall sales performance for the year. Any way you look at it, Nintendo's exec is technically correct. Evasive answers are on par for the course, especially when everyone is eager to hear the new hotness and the same story every time the cycle comes to a close. How do you transition to the next generation without killing the golden goose? He continues here, but that's kind of the gist of what I wanted to talk about here. I think that this is very telling for Nintendo. The way that he didn't say this is going to be the business of 2024. He said the main business heading into 2024. The way that things have gone, yes, Nintendo is at a record high for profits. They've made a lot more money than they, I guess I don't say record high, but they are much better prepared this last year than they would have thought that they were going to be at. They have more money. Their profits are higher than they projected, and that is mostly, if we really look at it, it is due to a lot of things. The Switch did sell well, the software did sell well, but they have Mario movie in there. That thing was the number 2 animated movie ever of all time, just behind Frozen 2. So you got that, you got theme parks, you've got Lego, you've got all sorts of other stuff kind of culminating in it. And Nintendo is probably at its peak popularity as it's ever been. So with all that kind of combined, despite the Switch, maybe seeing less sales than they would have anticipated, it's still not going to do anything. So I still personally think that we are going to see this thing fairly soon. And the way that Nintendo has even handled themselves in the past, you can't really take what they're saying here for face value. Look what they did with the Nintendo 3DS. They basically came out and said, there is no new model for the Nintendo DS. There's nothing, or the 3DS, whatever the case was, it's not happening. And then the next week they announced the Nintendo 3DS. That's just how the business rolls sometime. Nintendo's not going to reveal their hand until they are ready to do so. So with that being said, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think about what Nintendo and Shintaro Furukawa had to say at this latest investor meeting? Are you buying Switch 2 this year still, or do you think this is a 2025 play? Like I said, personally, I don't think this does anything to deter Nintendo from this year. I think it's just their way, as Nintendo Life suggested, is just their evasive maneuvering of making sure that they don't reveal too much yet, and they don't want things out of hand. They want to do it their way, and I still think that this thing is going to be revealed in the next month or so, and then a potential launch sometime later this year, September, October, November, as they said. It could be sooner, you never know, but that would make sense to me at least. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below, what everything we talked about here. Hit that subscribe button, like the video on your way out. It really does help, I appreciate it. And until next time, catch you later.